All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Tite. I think we're going to get started here. I am a customer success manager at Quorum on our stakeholder product. I've been here for about a year and a half helping clients build their event management projects into their broader stakeholder engagement strategy. And today our topic is how to engage your stakeholders with holiday parties. So I work with clients ranging from multinational corporations to trade associations and nonprofits, helping them set up broad and consistent stakeholder maps across the country and in the issues that matter to them. So I know we've got some clients on the line today, but for those who aren't familiar with Quorum, Quorum is public affairs software that helps you work smarter and move faster. So for my clients, really what that means is building out a database of contacts and stakeholders, mapping those stakeholders to the different issue areas that are relevant to their policy landscape, and then tracking those relationships over time and updating those relationships as there are changes. And then ultimately something that I've been really focusing and helping clients on is reporting out on the impact of their stakeholder engagement strategy broadly. So our webinar will be divided into two main parts today. First, we're going to be talking about why holiday events are important, and then we're going to really get into the nuts and bolts on how to make your holiday event successful for your stakeholder engagement strategy. Throughout the webinar, I'm also going to be sharing a few tips about how to use stakeholder engagement software like Quorum and how that can help your event management process. But I definitely want to make sure to leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. So please send in any questions that you have through the chat function of the webinar screen. And a member of our team here will pass them my way so that we can make sure to get to your questions. So Halloween is tomorrow. That means that we have 48 hours until we're officially in holiday season mode, preparing for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year, so many celebrations. Your office might be holding an internal holiday party this year for your team, but we think it's actually even more important for you all to hold external holiday events for your stakeholders, whether that's government officials and staff, coalition members, advocates, community partners, and other stakeholders your organization may be working with. So why should you host a holiday event? There are lots of organizations who make the mistake of engaging stakeholders only when they need something, but events give you a great opportunity to proactively engage with your stakeholders so that they have a positive memory to take away the next time that you go in to ask them for something or about a certain action. Events also represent an opportunity to highlight the best of your brand, using events to introduce your projects to the people behind your campaigns you're running can also give you an opportunity to give out company swag that attendees can take and just bring back to their desk and leave on their desk to be brand ambassadors for you all. If your organization is already mapping your stakeholders by interest or influence, using events is a great way to gauge someone's interest in your organization and the issues you work on. I'll also say, though, that taking time out of your day during the holiday season can be a significant time commitment. So you want to make sure that you're updating your information by using the event registration data to inform your stakeholder map. So in terms of planning your holiday events for your stakeholders, the first step is the timing. So you want to make sure that you're planning in conjunction with other communications. Holiday parties shouldn't happen in a vacuum. They should be closely coordinated with the rest of your communication strategy. And you should be consistently engaging with stakeholders, but not inundating them with so many messages that they tune out. You can use other communications like email to drive anticipation for your holiday event, but you want to be careful to not plan other events too closely to your holiday party such that attendees aren't interested in attending. Make sure that you also give plenty of time to drive attendance. This might seem obvious, but in DC, where Quorum is located, many organizations are hosting holiday parties to engage stakeholders, and oftentimes those are the same stakeholders that your organization might be targeting, and they're all trying to show off their own brands. So you need to make sure that you begin inviting stakeholders early enough that your party gets on their calendar before it's completely booked. Before you decide to who to invite, you want to make a goal for your event. So some of my most successful clients in using event management really set a goal for each holiday event. And that goal might be to increase engagement from low interest but highly influential stakeholders, or to engage a particular subset of stakeholders on an issue that's really important to your policy landscape. No matter what, these are the types of questions that you can ask yourself and will help inform which subsets of stakeholders you should invite, so you're not just sending out a broad invite to your entire email list, for example. Now, the process of mapping your stakeholders becomes a lot easier with clean data and custom fields to identify your stakeholders across a variety of variables. With a contact management system like Quorum, you can tag your custom fields to each contact based on the system of mapping your stakeholders. So I've got clients who map their stakeholders by issue area, by a number or a tiered system based on how influential that person is or how often they engage with them, or maybe what business unit that stakeholder is most relevant to, so that when you're inviting folks to an event, you can make sure that you have the right internal folks talking to the right external stakeholders in the room during the event. The next step is to determine what type of event to host. So based on your audience and your budget and your goals, there are going to be different types of events that are going to make more sense for you. So some obvious ones here are just having a large upscale party. This is what a lot of times are the most visible holiday parties, but it's also probably the most expensive. It is worth doing if you're looking to have a memorable experience with your stakeholders. They're going to hold on to that memory of that event you threw in the holiday season, throughout the year as you're engaging with them. But it's not the only option. The holidays are also a time for giving and a really cool opportunity to invite your stakeholders to participate in a fundraiser or a community service event that you're hosting. And this is also going to give you the opportunity for your staff members to interact with them directly, doing something for the better good and engaging in the community. If budget or time is limited on your end, which oftentimes it is, in the end of the year, a small scale dinner is a great way for you to engage your stakeholders at the holidays. But it's also a good way for you to help facilitate conversations between your stakeholders. So they'll see you as the one connecting them to these other influential folks that you've brought into the room, and you can gain lots of important intel about them in that scenario. Now, maybe you're overwhelmed because your stakeholders just don't live in the same city or region that you are based. I have a really successful client who uses digital webinars to engage with their stakeholders, where they have essentially created a system to send out webinar links through Quorum to all of the state and local legislators who work on a particular issue. And as a think tank, they want to be spreading the knowledge that their researchers are putting out there with these state and local folks. And they're able to engage with them and build a community and build a dialogue around, just a digital webinar on a bi-monthly basis. So this is one option, even if you don't have stakeholders really in your city or in your region. So now that you've done all the planning, the day is here, you've invited everyone, you've put up the decorations, everything to make the event a success, it's time for you to make the most of that event and the engagement that you have with your attendees. There's valuable intel in every single conversation that happens at your holiday party, and it's really important to capture that information in a digestible way. So using a system like Quorum to log your engagements, to track keep track of the notes that you have, the conversations that you have with these key stakeholders will allow you to bring that information up the next time you meet with them. Even if you didn't talk about work at all at the holiday party, it's really a good way to deepen the relationships you have with your key influencers, and bring up something that you discussed. A family vacation is always going to be helpful to know about. It's also it's going to give you ample opportunity for creative follow-up after the party on an individual basis. And in terms of follow-up, the holiday party planning doesn't end when the bar closes and the lights go down. Rather, you want to be following up with your attendees and your registrants to keep the relationships moving forward. You can manage your follow-up in two key ways, either en masse or personalized. Understandably, personalized follow-up is always better when you can speak directly to each stakeholder about what is most relevant to them, what future events you're hosting, setting follow-up meetings or answering any questions that they brought up at the event. But it can be very time-consuming if you don't have the right tools. If you want to do follow-up in mass, consider using personalized tokens or templates to allow you to send ideal personalization to individual responses based on information that you gathered at that event. So now that you've completed your follow-up, you want to use the information that you gleaned from your engagements at that holiday party to remap your stakeholders. Maybe you learned about a new interest, or you want to add a stakeholder to another group in your policy landscape, or maybe you learned of a stakeholder's new promotion and you want to reassess how influential they are on your issues. Anytime you learn this information, you've got to store it back in the database and update the information that you have about this stakeholder so that you can move forward with the best quality of data. You can also anticipate the party attendance for next year based on who showed up this year. So if someone never opened any of your emails and didn't end up RSVPing to the event, maybe that's something you want to consider when you're putting your list together for next year. So before we head into Q&A, I wanted to give a quick overview on Quorum Stakeholder, which is, again, the product that I work most closely with and helping clients with here at Quorum. We give users the ability to manage events in a system that is integrated with the rest of their stakeholder engagement work, allowing the events work to talk to the broader engagement strategy is a really good way to bring that information into one integrated system. And with Quorum Stakeholder, you can work smarter and move faster to map, track, and change and report out on the engagement efforts that you have in your world. So if you're interested in a demo of Quorum Stakeholder, you can respond to the poll at the end of the webinar, or feel free to visit the link on the screen. So I want to collect some questions. It looks like we've got a few questions that have come into the system here, and they are getting passed to me now. So the first question I have is, can you share some advice for organizations whose holiday party attendances are elected officials in Congress or state legislatures? This is a really cool thing that Quorum can actually help you with. I have a client who's a big multinational corporation who wanted to send out invites to a reception they had for the congressional baseball game here in Washington, D.C. They used Quorum to manage all of their RSVPs and allowed and they were able to actually send out RSVPs to staffers and decide whether or not that staffer should be able to RSVP for themselves or only for their boss. So this is a good way that, leveraging the information that's already in Quorum's state and federal products, it allows you to really quickly push out an event invitation that would have been otherwise a much, much larger project for the team to manage, and really have one person take point on sending out all of the invites, managing all of the RSVPs, and conducting all of the follow-up. So the next question I got here, what are some ways to make holiday parties well branded? This is a good question. I think a couple of ideas that I can think about. Something I saw, I went to one of my clients' holiday parties, and they actually had branded swag and giveaways that they made specifically for that event, which I think is a really cool way that you can tie the memory of your event to a piece of take home goodies, and then that person is going to put it in their office, put it on their desk, and their friends are going to see it, their coworkers and colleagues are going to see it, which is a cool idea. I would also say one thing that I always tell clients to think about as they're getting started is picking a space, a venue for your event that fits with the tone of your organization. So you might be having, you might be looking at a venue like a hotel ballroom or a bar or something like a museum. But I would say those are all good options, but you want to make sure it really lines up with the image that you're looking to put out and the brand that you're looking to forward with your stakeholders. It doesn't look like I have any other questions here, so I'm going to I'd appreciate it if you could take a quick survey that is going to show up on your webinar screen now. That's going to allow you to just tell us what was valuable here, and it's also going to allow us to send out a copy of this recording for you to share with colleagues or maybe present at an internal meeting. So thank you all so much for attending. For just a quick update on why it's important to have holiday parties externally, and we hope that you'll be in touch.